William J. Coughlin, a seasoned adventurer, had always sought the thrill of the unknown, but nothing could have prepared him for what awaited deep inside Buzzard Roose Cave on May 30th, 1993. The echoes of their laughter as they descended into the darkness soon gave way to the oppressive silence of the cave. What had started as a thrilling escape into the wild, with the promise of discovery, turned into something far more sinister. One wrong step, one unforeseen fall, and the adventurer spiraled into terror. The rugged walls seemed to close in on him, and in an instant, William's journey would take a horrifying turn. What should have been an exciting exploration was about to become a fight for survival. William J. Coughlin stood over 6 feet tall, a broad-shouldered figure whose presence filled any room. At 230 pounds, he was no stranger to physical challenges and wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, whether it was on the job or in the great outdoors. A man with a deep appreciation for nature, William's job with the Federal Environmental Protection Agency was a natural extension of his adventurous spirit. But it wasn't just his work that drew him to the wild. It was the thrill of exploration. With a heart that craved adventure, William spent his free time hiking, climbing, and seeking out the hidden corners of the world, always looking for that next rush of discovery. One evening, as they sat discussing their love for adventure, William and his friend James came across a brochure for Buzzard Roose Cave. The promise of a new and challenging experience called to them like a siren song. The Wild Cave Tour, known for its tight spaces and rugged terrain, was exactly the kind of challenge they had been searching for. Both men had always been drawn to the unknown, and caving seemed like the perfect next step in their journey. Many can relate to that desire for the unknown, the pull of adventure that pushes us to explore beyond our limits, to seek the rush of discovery in unfamiliar places. For William and James, it wasn't just about caving. It was about testing their courage and experiencing the raw power of nature up close. It was the kind of challenge that anyone with a thirst for adventure would understand. Nestled deep in the heart of Cave City, Kentucky, Buzzard Roose Cave had earned a reputation among adventurers as both a hidden gem and a treacherous labyrinth. A vast network of tunnels, chambers, and tight corridors stretched far beneath the earth, making it an irresistible draw for those seeking the thrill of the unknown. The cave had long been a favorite of serious cavers, attracting experienced spelunkers from around the world. Its beauty, with sparkling stalactites and mysterious formations, was legendary, but with its allure came a certain dark mystique. This wasn't just any cave. Buzzard Roose had a reputation for pushing even the most seasoned explorers to their limits. Buzzard Roose offered two distinct tours: the historical tour, which was a relatively safe walk through well-lit paths, and the Wild Cave Tour, a far more dangerous experience. The Wild Tour required participants to crawl through tight spaces, climb up slippery rocks, and squeeze their way through narrow passages where the air grew heavy and cold. According to the brochure, the tour was not for the faint of heart. It promised daring explorers a chance to venture into untouched parts of the cave, but it was reserved for the most daring. While the historical tour was accessible to the average visitor, the Wild Cave Tour had a much different reputation. The warning was clear: this tour is for experienced adventurers only. The tight squeezes, sharp stalagmites, and slick floors weren't just challenging, they were dangerous. Even the brochure's tone, with its bold descriptions of the cave's treacherous nature, hinted at the risk involved. Yet for William and James, the danger only added to the allure. They were ready for a new challenge, and they didn't think twice about signing up for the Wild Tour. William and James were buzzing with excitement as they set off for Buzzard Roose Cave. The brochure had painted a picture of daring exploits, of tight squeezes and secret chambers waiting to be discovered. To them, it was just another thrilling adventure. They had explored a few smaller caves before, and each time they had emerged feeling victorious. This was no different, or so they thought. The two friends joked and laughed as they geared up, confident that their past explorations had prepared them for whatever the wild cave tour would throw at them. There was no hesitation in their steps as they entered the cave, filled with the naive optimism that comes from overconfidence. Though the pair had enjoyed some simple cave dives in their neighborhood, this was a different beast altogether. They weren't trained spelunkers, and their previous experiences were far from the complexities of a wild cave tour. In their minds, they had conquered the easier caves, so why should this be any different? As they began their descent, the lack of proper equipment became apparent. No helmets, no harnesses, and only a few basic flashlights to guide them through the labyrinth. The more experienced cavers they passed seemed to eye them with quiet concern, but William and James shrugged it off, certain that their enthusiasm would carry them through. It was only when they squeezed through a particularly narrow passage that they started to feel the weight of their choices, though they dismissed it as part of the adventure. As they ventured deeper into Buzzard Roose, the air grew thick, each breath feeling colder and heavier. The narrow passageways seemed to close in on them, forcing them to crawl on their hands and knees through the wet, slippery rock. The flickering light from their flashlights cast long, eerie shadows on the jagged walls, and the silence of the cave pressed in around them like a living, breathing thing. Every step seemed to echo in the vast emptiness, amplifying the sense of isolation. The deeper they went, the more the excitement of discovery faded, replaced by an unsettling sense of claustrophobia. The cave's beauty, once alluring, now seemed dark and foreboding. The first signs of difficulty came early. William and James had to squeeze their bodies through tight gaps, pushing past sharp stalactites that scraped at their clothes and skin. The smooth, slick rock beneath their feet made it difficult to maintain their footing. A few times, they slid slightly, causing their hearts to race. Yet they pressed on, laughing off the discomforts and reminding each other that this was all part of the adventure. But with every new section of the cave, the obstacles grew more challenging. As they approached a particularly narrow squeeze, William hesitated. The gap ahead seemed impossibly tight, his shoulders brushing against the wet walls. For a moment, he felt trapped, as if the cave was holding him in its grasp. His breath caught in his throat. He turned to James, who was already a few feet ahead, eager to press on. "You good?" James called out. William nodded, pushing through the discomfort, determined to keep up. But it was in that brief hesitation that he unknowingly stepped too far forward, his foot slipping, and that was when everything began to go wrong. After what seemed like hours in the dark, the sound of rescuers finally reached William's ears. His fall had left him badly injured, but he was alive. With their help, he was guided back to the surface, shaken but thankful. The cave, with its tight spaces and hidden dangers, had tested him in ways he never anticipated. The ordeal served as a harsh reminder of the unpredictable nature of exploration. Adventure, while thrilling, requires respect for both its beauty and its dangers. No matter how experienced we think we are, preparation and caution are always key. How far would you go to explore the unknown? And, more importantly, how prepared would you be to face the risks that come with it?